Up, up, and away. This is the focus group.
They're all business, except when they're not. It's the focus group with Tim Bennett and John Nash.
Hello, everybody. It's Wednesday, May 12th. Tim Bennett here, as always, with my good friend and co-host, Mr. John T. Nash, coming to you from Philadelphia and New York City and parts unknown, I guess.
I like the parts unknown, yeah.
Parts unknown. Welcome to this edition of the Focus Group. Be sure to follow along with us every week at focusgroupradio.com, and be sure to catch our podcast, which is TFG Unbuttoned. It's just 20 minutes in and out. 3 stories that John and I like and that we share with you each Tuesday. And it's a little more, as John likes to say, digestible. But you can find all of our audio and video media housed at focusgroupradio.com. And our social media is all branded focusgroupradio.com as well. How are you, Mr. Nash?
I'm doing good. We are firmly into spring. And I guess, as I said on Button the other day, we're 2 weeks or so away from the calendar start of summer, so I'm excited about that. And right before we came on air, I told you I heard from a good friend of mine that I cycle with that he had a head-on collision with a car, and then he said, "But I'm 100% fine." He goes, "All my training."
Head-on collision.
I don't know how you walk away from that. I'm going to get details on that, but apparently the front wheel of the bike was slightly damaged, so we'll see what that means. And as you know, last week, you know me and my bike, I hit a rock, and that caused some strange damage to the bike, which I'm thinking in hindsight, even though I get angry about this stuff, had it gone any differently, I might not be sitting here in this capacity, because I was going down a hill at like 30 miles an hour, and you hit a rock and you never know what's going to happen, right? Cars are the same way.
You never know. And it's that slight hair second of it could have ended differently. Mm-hmm. Of whether you get hurt or not. I was going to call, I know you get aggravated by this, but you're the de facto IT guy of every friend that you know, I think.
Yes.
In
short answer, yes.
So I had 2 issues last week. One of them I didn't tell you about. One of them I was trying to wipe a iMac clean and spent hours trying to do it.
What a pain in the butt.
Meanwhile, you know how frustrated I've been where I've lost stuff, and you're like, get the hard drive. I've tried not to lose things and have lost everything. This, I did everything but throw a rock through the screen.
And it lived.
And every time I plugged it in, it all, came right back on. Logged right back in. So Brian tried. Brian was over for 2 or 3 hours. We tried. So he's now taking it home to try to figure it out. It's an older machine. But there was one that you and I bought that was refurbed that never really worked.
It was a monitor thing. It would glitch out and just kind of freeze up, and the monitor would go dead. Then you'd have to do you'd have to do a magic wand thing to get it to work, right?
Right. It was a 2009 or 2010, so it was very, very heavy. So I decided, I plugged it in just to make sure, and I thought, I'm going to recycle this. So I thought, very simply, I'll do the right thing rather than throw it into a contractor's bag, which I will do next time, by the way. I contact the township here in Montgomery County. Oh, sure, drop it off. Well, you can't do that now with a COVID because it has to be a certain time, with the wind blowing a certain way or whatever. So they're not going to take it. Then I find out the state of Pennsylvania. So then I say, go to Best Buy. So now this is 11:30 now. I start doing this in the morning. So I drive over to a Best Buy in Willow Grove. I have to get in the car, get out the thing, put the mask on, go in, see this little, kid at the Best Buy. He says to me, "Well, what kind of machine is it?" I said, "Well, it's a computer. I want to recycle it. I just want to drop it off." "Well, I'm not going to give you any money for it." I said, "I don't want money for it. I just want to recycle it. I want to get rid of it." "Well, is it all in one?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Is it a screen in with the computer?" I said, "Yeah." "Well, we can't take those in Pennsylvania." I said, "So you're telling me you don't recycle Apple products, essentially, is what you're telling me?" No, we don't take those." I said, "Well, what am I supposed to do with it?" He says, "Well, you got to call Apple." "Oh, okay." So there's an Apple store over in Willow Grove. I call the Apple store, which is no easy feat to get to.
By the way, this isn't Chris. Which is closer for you, Christiana or Willow Grove at this point?
Well, Willow Grove was closer,
okay.
But
Christiana's
either way,
the store.
You've got to drag this thing into a mall, right? So I haven't been in a mall. I can't tell you when.
Oh, no, wait. I'm sorry. King of Prussia was close too, right?
King of Prussia's close too, but I'm trying
Okay.
to think, okay, what's closest? I had to go to Home Depot. Now we're pushing now 12:30, 1 o'clock. So I call Home Depot. I get somebody from app. First of all, that nobody from the store will answer. They're not taking phone calls. So I get some call customer service thing from Apple somewhere in Easter Bip. I get somebody on. She tells me I've got to call the store and make an appointment or go online and get the Genius Bar. I said, I just want to drop it off to recycle. I don't
Yeah.
want to buy anything. I just want to drop it off. Nope, you got to make an appointment. I said, could you do it for me? I'm in the car. Oh, sure, I'll connect you. Well, of course, it waits and waits and waits. I finally get some nice guy who answers the phone. When can you be here? You got a 5-minute window.
Oh my God. You can't be kidding me. He actually said that to you, right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I said, okay. So I rush over there. You would have died laughing. I try to find it. I get a parking spot. I kind of know where the Apple store is in the mall. I start hoofing my way in there with this thing. It weighs a ton.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
I get in there and I'm looking over the railing and the Apple store is over in the next level in the mall. So I'm like, okay, let me walk over to the escalator. Well, because of COVID, they've only got one escalator working per floor to try to minimize movement. And I've hoofed it all the way over there now and I'm sweating. I'm furious. So I'm thinking I'm going to go through Macy's now or whatever to get down to the second floor. That's closed. I almost threw the thing over the side of the railing. I was so pissed.
You should have, and I wish
So
someone had
watching me walk around with this thing, this huge computer, people are looking at me like an idiot. Oh, look at that. That machine's broken. I finally get down to this Apple thing. I'm sweating. The woman says to me, oh, you here for service? I said, no, I just want to drop it off.
recycle.
Well, you're going to have to get in line. I said, I'm not getting in any line. I said, it's like a soda bottle. I just want, take it. Well, she wants to know X, Y, and Z, the ins and outs of a cat's ass. She wants serial numbers, all this stuff. I said, I don't know. It doesn't work. Plug it in. It doesn't work. I said, I don't want it. I just want to recycle it. So she could tell I was irritated. And I said, by the way, you don't make this easy. And I said, I was just going to throw it in the garbage. She goes, oh, you can't do that. I said, no, I can't.
Yeah.
And the next one I will. And I said, and I don't know why this whole country, everybody's got computers. People must throw them away. Anyway, I'm done with my rant about these computers.
But at the end, did you actually succeed in turning it in?
So this young kid is there, and he could tell he was irritated because then he wants to ask me about what I thought of the machine and this, that, and everything else. I mean, the machine was older than this kid.
It's an old
I said,
iMac. Yeah.
Yeah. I said, it was great when it was great. I said, but it was a refurb. I'll never do that again. I said, my business partner and I thought we would try it. I said, it had a lot of problems. It'd been in for service a few times. I said, the other iMacs we have are great. I said, we're not interested in buying any more now. We still use Apple products. That's all we use. I said, I just wanted to do the right thing and recycle it. I said, but I'll tell you what, it's been 2.5 hours now. And I said, and I won't go through this again. I said, I'll just throw it in the garbage. And he just looked at me. But I can't, I know from what I did, there's nobody that would have gone through what I did to throw that away. Most people would have just thrown it in a dumpster.
I'm honestly surprised when we recycle electronic products upstate, for example, they have a huge pile, and it's monitors and CPUs and old Macs and the guide. They don't differentiate whether it's an all-in-one or who made it. And then there's the whole battery section. You could drop batteries or the air conditioning in the refrigerator. It's just, I guess everybody's different. Every state treats it differently.
Well,
right?
apparently Pennsylvania, Connecticut, and there's one more that won't take these all in one.
Yeah.
Something, but your typical Pennsylvania. Meanwhile, you can drive and smoke and talk on your cell phone, but you can't
All at the same time.
Right. Can't put in a computer. So, anyway, what caught your eye this week, Mr. Nash?
What caught your eye? Here's what Tim and John found.
This should cheer you up, I believe. So the headline reads, "No joke, New York City-based company sued over offensive penis pranks."
What?
And yeah, you're going to love this one. Okay, so basically there is a company that sends out pranks, rubber poo in a jar, dirt in a bag, postcards that say things like "Congratulations on your penis enlargement," so the post person can see this when they're putting it in your mailbox, or "Sorry that you have anal leakage." But I will elaborate. Queens-based ruindays.com, RUIN, as in ruin your day, will anonymously offend your enemies, ex-lover, boss, and even the old lady down the block for a price. Just give us their name and address. We'll take care of the rest, the website touts. But not everyone laughed at the harassing hijinks. A woman named of Ruin Days, whose calling cards include spring-loaded penis bombs, smelly poop in a box, gummy bears that are shaped like penises, and T-shirts that say "I'm a piece of SHID. A Long Island woman is seeking legal revenge after an unsolicited package FedEx to her Nassau County home on May 29th contained a penis bomb that exploded in her face. Court papers show. The phallic missile, a spring-loaded tube-shaped package which abruptly and unexpectedly shoots out hundreds of penis-shaped plastic like confetti, with high velocity and great force, was shipped in a package designed to disguise the true nature of its contents, the suit says. The sender was listed as Nostalgic Inc. The Long Island woman, who was shocked and scared by this explosion of the projectiles, is seeking unspecified damages for alleged assault, battery, emotional distress, negligence, and damage to her computer. She's not the only one. My client feels like everyone. She's scared, she's shocked, she's violated, and she's disturbed by this horrible thing. But there's other people that are doing this as well. Ruined Days will send calling cards to your enemies, ex-lover, even your boss. In the Maryland case, which is another one that's pending, a woman sued them for $600,000 after a package she thought was from Amazon turned out to be a glitter bomb. Now, you know I hate glitter personally. That exploded in her face in 2018, and it damaged her computer. R&D Promos, which owns ruindays.com, is not returning calls at this moment. But so this is basically like, do you remember when we were kids and you'd buy it was that company that used to make like the rubber poo and the joy buzzers and the whoopee cushion. This seems like a internet version of this where their website says this is a prank. You shouldn't be doing this to hurt or injure people or upset them, but this is to make somebody laugh. I don't know. It's so what do you think?
I think it's funny. I like the idea. I don't know. I think it's harmless. But so you don't know who it comes from, right?
No, it's totally anonymous. Yeah.
Yeah, I had similar to and I guess, well, maybe similar to, but a friend of mine was going through not a happy divorce, and the wife was really kind of tough on him. And so when he would have the kids on the weekends, he was always trying to figure out a way to kind of get back at her when he'd have to bring the kids back. And knowing your hate of glitter, I said to him, have the kids make a little card for mom or something for mom, and then have them get in the car and get the glitter all over the place. And she would get so angry because they'd come in, Mommy, got your cards. And the glitter be all over the car to get all over everything.
And it never goes away. You find glitter for months after even Christmas or any of these holidays where glitter is like de facto.
Yeah, so I could see where that would be upsetting, but I don't know have you ever got an anonymous card from somebody or
nope,
like something in the mail like that?
No. And that's why I think I went to ruindays.com, by the way, and you should, if you want to check it out, it's RUINDAYS, ruindays.com, and the variety of things they have it's just crass practical joke stuff, especially the rubber poo in the tin, like it's the stuff we saw as grammar school. We were kids, but people use it, so so that's what caught my eye.
That's a good one. You find some good things.
Well, that's because we have the New York Post. That's from the New York Post. That's the same paper that gave us headless body. What was it?
Headless body found in topless bar.
Yeah, headless body, topless bar. Yeah, same paper. Years ago, of course, but yeah,
one of the best headlines around. Mine, I read the headline and then I read deeper into it and then I laughed. So we've all heard these stories about people's pride flags that get stolen and
burned,
the neighborhood
or destroyed,
gets in an uproar. Everyone gets upset, and then the whole neighborhood will rally and put out flags in support of the couple, and how dare they, how dare somebody be so hateful and take down the flags. I think we did one just recently about a coffee shop in Bethel, Connecticut, where people took the flag down. So
burned it, returned the ashes,
Yep. So this says gay couple's pride flag stolen, but there's an unlikely happy ending for once. It says a gay couple feared the worst when their pride flag was stolen from outside their house. Charlie Olivio and his husband live in a quiet, friendly neighborhood in University Heights, Ohio, and their pride flag had disappeared last week, and they were shocked. So of course they assumed the worst, and because they'd heard about all these pride flags being stolen or burned by homophobic bigots. And so they said, well, this isn't certainly the first. So they immediately turned to social media on Tuesday in the hopes that they might catch somebody. They had asked if anybody had seen any security footage. They had asked neighbors. The neighbors rallied around. They got outraged. They called Channel 19 News. One of the other neighbors rallied, and they bought 10 other flags to give to all the other neighbors to fly. So all the other neighbors put out flags. And then these guys got their dog Daisy on the hunt, and they were going to catch when they put their flag out again the other night, and they had a camera set up, and they were going to watch and find out who was taking this flag. Daisy starts going wild. They look out, and lo and behold, there's this little raccoon running with the flag up the tree.
So it was an animal.
So it turns out that this raccoon had been stealing the flag and making a beautiful nest. They said he had a really nice nest done with these flags,
Colorful,
with or with the rainbow flag. So they nicknamed the raccoon Fabulous, and they've allowed him to keep the rainbow flag. And the other neighbors, everybody's kind of laughed about it. They've all kept the rainbow flags flying on the street, but this is one of those where everybody thought it was some sort of homophobic or bigoted thing, and found out it was actually this raccoon was stealing the flag, and made a nest. They could see the nest of it up in the tree. They could see the flag was intertwined up in the nest. So I thought it was a cute, kind of funny story.
I think it's adorable.
About,
and
the taking of the flags.
And what's so funny about it is that it's not what you expect it to be, because every time we report on a flag being missing or taken, it's usually someone doing something bad, right? And here it is, just a little critter.
Yep.
That's classic.
Yeah. Hey, before we with the tease of the show, we said up and away. So away luggage. Everybody knows. You've seen the ads. Haven't the ads been all over TV? And
we have them all
kind
over
of direct to consumer luggage. And John and I a couple of years ago had one of the co-founders on, Jen Rubio from Away Luggage. She was on the show, and she had worked at Warby Parker. She was in charge of social media. And John had found this article about her and about how really things at Away Luggage have gone south because of the leadership there, which she and her co-founder were responsible for, and how people that worked there said it was a real toxic culture, and how their sales had dropped almost 90%, and how they're trying to turn the business around. And I will say for me that after we had interviewed her, smart person, very young, but I would say smart person, very young. And I think to do the business thing, my takeaway from this story and my takeaway from when we interviewed her, that there is a level of maturity that's needed to run a business. And I'm not so sure that when you read about what happened and kind of the culture about the way that they behaved as leaders, all of a sudden with this billion-dollar company, that they were prepared for the success they had.
Well,
I don't know if you feel the same way.
It's an interesting story because it was founded by Jen Rubio and her partner, Steph Corey. And Steph Corey was basically the one that was running the company in the day-to-day operations, and Jen Rubio became kind of the face of the company, the person that would talk to us, for example, the media, or she would talk to investors. She very much became the popular face of Away. And so it was like that old game show from when we were kids, the Whammy, right? So you had the event hit, which nixed travel in days. Everything shut down. And here's a company whose entire lifeblood is travel, right? And in fact, they were rebranding themselves as an experiential company. We'll make products that will get you to these destinations like luggage and things like that. The luggage was the key thing. But in the meantime, Steph was running the company, and all these things were bubbling up in terms of what they would call a toxic corporate culture, to the point where Steph, the co-founder, was pushed out at some point. A gentleman was placed in the role of CEO, and now she, Jen Rubio, one of the co-founders we've been talking about, is stepping back in to kind of right the ship and get the company going again as we see travel loosen up a bit and everything. So, I would say that it could be an issue of maturity and age, or it could be an issue of, you have to have eyes in the back of your head, right?
Right.
Or you have to have an extreme level of trust for the people that are running the day-to-day operations. And so I think it was a confluence of things. And to your observation, or to your point, perhaps there is a maturity issue there, where someone who's been on the job a little longer or has experienced some of this stuff working for corporate America would, in fact, have said to themselves, there are little problems percolating over here, I better take care of it. You know what I mean? But that's the hard knock life, right?
Well, when you read a lot about some of these startup companies that have all of a sudden been thrust into the spotlight with young leadership, not that young leadership can't survive or
achieve great things. Yeah.
Can't do great things. But there is a level of maturity, I think, that smart companies will bring in some seasoned executives that at least understand kind of some of the pitfalls that happen with growing pains. And I just know from our interview with Jen, and we didn't interview her, the other person who was
Steph Corey, the other founder.
We didn't interview Steph, but when you read about what some of the employees talked about, kind of the reprimands in front of others and belittling,
grade school kind of crap, grade school stuff, right?
And that really just comes with a seasoned executive that understands how you operate a company. And so for me, I thought, well, here we go. It's one of these things where now you're going to have to try to fix it. And in some cases, it's fixable. Some cases, it might not be. Coupled with what you said, your whole business is predicated on travel.
Yeah,
which has been crippled by the event. So I wish them well. It's good luggage. You and I
love it.
You and I have used the luggage, and it's great to travel with, and we wish them success. But hopefully, she can turn it around.
And it was an amazing concept to found the company on: simple, clean, and easy. I want to make a carry-on bag that is affordable, is almost indestructible, holds what I need, goes in the overhead compartment of any aircraft. And that singular idea got them to where they are. But you are right. A confluence of things. They're now, I think to round it off, if Jen threads the needle and away roars back and does great, and their corporate culture does even better, then talk about a CEO who's gone on an extended learning journey, right? And now
right.
She'll be ready to tackle all the big challenges that are coming her way as well. Because every day is a challenge with the company, especially with employees, as you know. Because everybody brings stuff to work, whether it's remote or not, and you got to manage it. So, yeah, we thought you guys would enjoy this because Jen was one of our favorite interviews. Was she a Rhodes Scholar? Do I remember that correctly?
No, I don't think she was a Rhodes Scholar.
There was something.
I don't think she'd gone to college.
Oh,
that was her big claim to fame.
But she did do it. She did do a TED Talk.
I think she dropped out of Penn State because she had an opportunity to
do business.
I
think maybe she did a TED Talk though, and that's what has impressed you because you always like the TED Talk, folks, and I do too. All right, first half of the show is going to wrap up. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we have our business birthday. And we have another shop talk that features a historic character that Tim loves. Ben Franklin is always available, even in the modern age, to give us all some interesting insights. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
You're listening to The Focus Group with Tim and John. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com. Now back to the Focus Group with Tim and John. Available pretty much everywhere.
Hey, welcome back to the Focus Group. Tim Bennett here with John Nash. Follow along with us all week long at focusgroupradio.com, as well as our social media, which is all branded focusgroupradio.com. Coming up, we've got our business birthday. We're going to talk a little bit about some font changes at Microsoft, and then we've got some wisdom. I guess 300-year-old or 400-year-old wisdom from Ben Franklin that's still
it's old,
still usable today, apparently. That Ben Franklin, I'll tell you what.
Wise man.
He had a lot to do. He had a lot going on with not a lot to do.
He was a busy guy, busy man. Yeah.
Busy man. So without further ado, let's get to our business birthday.
Everyone does celebrity birthday greetings, but the Focus Group is the only show in the universe that celebrates business birthdays.
John, do you shop at Kohl's department store?
I know Kohl's very well, and I have shopped there in the past. And the company that Bob works for, a lot of their product goes to Kohl's, and they're really, they're a busy chain. Let's put it that way. They're busy.
My mom likes Kohl's. I don't go there much, maybe because there's not really one nearby, but I know people love it. So today, May 12th, in 1901, Maxwell Kohl was born, Kohl, of Kohl's department store fame. He died December 14th, 1981 at 80. He's from Poland. He started his business in 1962, but he actually started as a grocery store. And they're headquartered in Menominee Falls, Wisconsin.
Well pronounced.
29.
Did you
Well,
practice
I used to live
that?
out in the Midwest.
That was
Menominee.
well said. That's well said.
I traveled all over Wisconsin, John. In the summer, you got to keep the windows up. It smells like manure. It's the dairy state. The 2019 revenues were $20 billion, or close to 80,000 employees, ranked 165 on the Fortune 500. So Max Kohl came to the U.S. from Poland and worked in a number of factories in Milwaukee until 1927, when at the age of 26, he opened a small grocery store. And the business grew. And he then opened up his first supermarket to feature things that are now very common, like we don't think of these things, like an in-store bakery and a deli. Before then, that was not very common. I didn't realize that. You know, these little things that
take for granted in a supermarket. Yeah,
take for granted, right? He eventually grew that into a 48 supermarket chain in Wisconsin before selling the business in 1970. And he was a very shrewd and demanding customer, and they said he was, based upon the fact that he was very dissatisfied with an experience of trying to buy a dress shirt. So in 1962, after having a disappointment and a disappointing time in a department store, trying to buy a dress shirt, he decided he was going to start his own department store. So he opened up Kohl's department stores. Now, can you imagine if you went somewhere, you said, you know, I can't get a pair of pants. I'm going to open a department store to get a pair of pants.
It's an origin story that I think I'm smiling the minute you said that the inspiration came from the fact that he couldn't find or purchase the dress shirt that he wanted, and suddenly he builds an entire department store. How could you? It's great. I think it's a great origin story.
Yeah, it says he used his experience with supermarkets to institute what he says was going to be customer service and inventory management efficiencies that were not commonly seen in department stores at the time. So it allowed these stores to offer lower prices than the high-end stores and higher quality than the discounters. So this formula worked, became very successful, and he and his sons ran the company until 1972 when it was sold to Brown and Williamson. When he retired, his son Herb went on to become a U.S. senator and also owner of the Milwaukee Bucks. And his other son, Sidney, became a very successful real estate developer in Florida. And then they talked about how the Kohl's chain now is in 49 different states. They were also the very first one to use they had hired an ad agency in 2009 to help further enhance their brand. And they won something called a green ranking, which said that they were the largest solar power program of any retailer globally.
What year was that?
Which I guess this was in 2009.
Okay. That's pretty progressive for 2009, right?
Right, and they had also begun selling reusable shopping bags, which was way ahead of the time for department stores. They said they also added they were the first integrated mobile checkout solution, pay solution, a retailer in the U.S. And they talked about how they worked with a number of startups to merge all of the different rewards programs through something, and then you could use Apple Pay. So they were the very first retailer to include all of this aggregation of the different
payment options,
coupons, and everything else. And yeah. And then they tried something in 2015 that failed, which I thought was interesting. They'd opened an aisle in the store. They called it the off aisle. And it was selling things that were kind of like new, things people returned. But they were kind of pretty heavily used, like what you used to see at Marshall's.
Shoes that looked like they walked around the world,
right.
Yeah.
So there says these were accessories that were used and purchased and returned to the store. Many of the items were heavily discounted, and there was a very restrictive return policy. And but they said this didn't last. This experiment only lasted about 4 years. But there was one aisle of this shit apparently that was just hanging out, and people could buy it. And so they tried it out at a number of stores, and it just didn't work. This kind of used.
Was this
used
was this a solution in search of a problem, or a problem in other words, like I thought when a store took items back, they went back to the manufacturer, the distributor, right? So this clearly some of these were not going back anywhere, and the decision was
Yep.
made. We might as well make a dime off something, right?
Right. If you're going to throw it away in the dumpster, you might as well throw it out on this off shelf, right? And see if
Make a
somebody picks
penny.
it up.
Yeah.
It was like me at my yard sale when I had that stuff in the garbage and people were going through it. How much for this? $2. Okay.
Our favorite
Stuff in
story was the
garbage
pan.
people bought.
Our favorite story was the broken pan, or the pan that was like 1,000 years old, and you're like, $5. They gave you, what was it, $5 a buck or $5 someone gave you?
Yeah. Yeah. Or the 2 chairs that were busted, the 2 desk chairs. I'm looking at those chairs out there. You are? Yeah, but how much? I said 2 for 10. Take them, because otherwise I'd had to drag them to the dump.
You did
They
good
did a
with that.
partnership. They did a partnership with Amazon in 2017, which they would accept Amazon returns, which I think is interesting. Also, they're leasing space to Aldi and Planet Fitness. So, which I
Those
thought was
actually,
interesting
you know
as
what's
well.
fascinating about that? Those chains usually occupy the same malls or shopping centers that Kohl's would be in. So you would have a Kohl's and Aldi, a Planet Fitness, maybe a Verizon store, something else. But that's how that's kind of clustered. So that's very smart. So they're taking some of their real estate that they may not be using for retail and letting others use it, right?
And leasing it. Yeah. And then it goes on and talks about different brand layouts. But the one other thing that's interesting here is they said that they use a racetrack layout. So again, they said the stores are laid out with a single aisle that circles the entire store.
That's true.
And then it has these offshoots, and there's high-end brands, there's the private brands, and various other things along the way. So anyway, Maxwell Kohl started this department store. I don't know if you could successfully start a department store now.
Well, the very concept seems to be running up against what we're dealing with pre-event and during, and now as we move into a different phase. I agree with you. A department store, the idea behind it, like if you think of a Macy's or a Kaufman's or a Gimbel's, well, I think that might have been a Pittsburgh thing. It was everything under one roof. It was appliances. Right. It was women's wear. It was bedding. It was men's shirts and ties. It was sporting gear. It was lawn mowers, right? I mean, it was. And you and I grew up with. When you were a kid, did you go towards Danbury or did you go towards Waterbury?
We were Danbury because we were on that side of the. You were closer to Waterbury. We were closer to Danbury.
There was an old department store in. I have to ask my mom to confirm this, and if anybody's listening and they know that I'm saying it wrong or something, let me know. But I think it was Holland's or Howland's. It was a department store in Waterbury, and it had the old wood floors. The elevator had a guy that ran it with the crank.
Yeah,
lingerie.
Sounds like Bonwit Teller almost.
Exactly, but it was when we were kids. That's where we went to get shoes. I mean, we were really small, so this did not last for too much longer than when we were really young. But interesting business birthday, and the fact that I still love the origin. Can't find a shirt. I think I'll start a store.
Start a store.
Yeah.
So we'll have to start something, John. It's that whole thing of coming up with what Sam had said, right? You write down 3 ideas a week, and eventually you'll be a billionaire.
Clean, simple
Have you written down
idea.
Anything yet?
No, and what he had recommended was writing down things that you found that were problems. Like some of them were problems that, and after a while you would see a pattern and you would look at the problem and say, I've got a solution for that. I haven't come up with that yet. So
returning computers.
Yeah, or yard sales, or selling a house. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff there.
A lot of problems. So I had seen this, and I thought of you immediately because you're a typeface kind of guy. You like type.
I'm a typographer.
And,
I love type, yeah.
Typography guy. I saw Microsoft, they said, is they're having a little, well, they want the consumer to weigh in on some of their, they want to change the default font, which is currently, is it Calibri? Is that how you say it? Calibri. And so that's currently the default font on Microsoft, and they've chosen 5 new ones. So since 2007, Calibri has replaced Times New Roman, the Microsoft Office suite. And so they've got 5 new fonts, and they have them listed: Tenorite, Bierstadt, Skeena, Seaford, and Grandview. And they had them listed, and they want people to go online and pick which one they like. But they said if yours doesn't get picked, whatever the default one was, all of these will be available, plus still, still Calibri. But I was wondering what you thought of, A, what do you think about them changing? do you think they need to change? And B, is there something here that you like better than what there currently is? Or do you have a favorite that you use currently?
I have always been a fan of two fonts, Times New Roman and Helvetica. They're utilitarian. They get the job done. And those used to, as you mentioned, be the defaults for Microsoft Word and Excel and PowerPoint. I read about this myself, and I was kind of scratching my head because Calibri, in the world of typography, Calibri is not that old. The designer who came up with this font did this 8 or 10 years ago, and you know, I might be wrong about the time frame, but I know that he was caught off guard that they were about to dethrone his font in favor of something else. But I think it's never a problem to refresh things. And Calibri I've gotten used to because everybody that sends you documents doesn't bother changing the default font. So you just get used to seeing it. Of the ones you mentioned, there was, you're right, Tenorite, Bierstadt, then this Skina, and then this one was my favorite. There was Seaford is my favorite, and then there was Grandview. But Seaford reminds me of a lot of other, what we call sans serif typefaces that I've used before. And I like this. So I'm glad they're going to include all of them, and the vote is only for the default. But if, you know, anything, in my opinion, Calibri's fine. But, you know, once you start seeing other typefaces, you're like, oh, that might be prettier or nicer or easier to read. So interesting, huh?
So I guess I shouldn't say I haven't noticed, but what is your default now? Do you default to Times Roman, or do you
for our
Calibri?
company, for example, when you and I send correspondence out, if I've drafted it or it came off a template, it's Times New Roman, or it's Helvetica, and or it's, if it's you and me, just if you send me a document, sometimes you'll send me a working document. You'll say, "Hey, John, have a look at this. These are all my thoughts about X, Y, and Z." And if
who knows what that's in?
Well, it's Calibri usually, because you just that's your default. You'll open it up and you'll do it, and but it's highly legible. It's fine. You know, the thing about typography, I love type, is that you can get wrapped up in it, but at the end of the day, it's utilitarian. It needs to do a job, and it needs to do it well, right?
Well, I'll have to check these out. There wasn't one that necessarily stood out for me, but you like this Seaford, so I'm going to check that out and see what I think. But I'll have to check it out. I do get aggravated sometimes because I do think there's almost too many choices.
Agreed. I completely agree with you. You know, if you gave us 7 to 10, that might be too much. It's like the time, I think we had an exchange student. I forget where they were from. This was in college. We had a bunch of students come for a month-long thing, and someone took them to the grocery store, and they were freaked out by the amount of coffee we had. The sheer volume of... and they could have been from Spain or France or something, but, you know, if you and I have traveled around the world, and we've gone to other stores and stuff, choice is great, but sometimes, you know, coffee's coffee, right? So I remember friends of mine coming back from that excursion to the store, and they're like, you have no idea what these kids did when they saw the coffee aisle and when they saw the cereal aisle. That was the one that really put them over the edge. A whole row, a whole aisle of cereal, and whatever country they're from, they had maybe 3 or 4. One of them was definitely muesli, you know, that like grainy stuff.
Well, that's why they're always fit.
Real
the Americans
thin.
are fat. Hey, we talked earlier about some advice from Ben Franklin. So this comes from 1730. So this is our shop talk. The 5 biggest mistakes that make you look unlikable. This is according to Ben Franklin. It says these mistakes would have made people dislike you in 1730, and they'll still make people dislike you today. So they said these are bits of wisdom from over 300 years ago, and so I laughed. John and I have always been always fans of Ben Franklin, and always kind of laugh about his logic and some of the things that he says. But there were these 5 tips here. I must say that I'm probably guilty of all 5 at one time or another. There's certain things that I look back on perhaps, and I maybe cringe that maybe I've said or I've done. No,
I'm going to tell you that you are not guilty of this. You are not.
I thought maybe at one time you may have been. Don't you think at one time you might have been? You might have stepped into one of these of these things where you've done this.
Let me tell you something to all listening. Since I basically grew up with Tim, we were in high school together. You have not committed these, and there's a caveat for everything. And yes, maybe when you were younger, maybe you stepped out of line or did something that, according to these 5, that you shouldn't have done. But honestly, one of your gifts is that you've You don't need to be told these. So, and
Well, see, I might disagree, but we'll go through them then, and we'll see. And maybe I'll give you an example. But I thought when I read these, I thought maybe I've done these, so maybe I'm too hard on myself.
I'm
So what was
guilty.
the first one?
Well, and as we kick off the list with something I'm probably been accused of, it's called talking too much. People love entertaining company. They do not love people who become a, quote, chaos of noise and nonsense, Franklin insists, describing self-involved chatterbirds who interrupt one another at every turn and watch with the utmost impatience for a cough or a pause when they may crowd a word in edgewise. Neither hears nor cares what the other says, but both talk at any rate. So, by the way, this is all distilled from a short essay called On Conversation. I urge you to find the full one. It's not a big read, but it's longer than these 5 we're doing. So yeah, I've probably been guilty of talking too much, and you know that for a fact. You know I don't like gaps and silences, right?
Yeah, but that's different than just monopolizing.
True.
So which I think this is probably leaning towards. The because we all know the person that we had somebody on. It was an interview, and you and I were struggling to they didn't understand that they needed to stop or pause to have a conversation. Remember, it was run on.
And when we
I
went
forget
to,
who it was.
I remember the incident though, and I can't tell you the guest. It reminds me of Dick Cavett going home after the show every night, and his doorman says, "Who'd you have on?" I don't know, but I'll tell you who I have on tomorrow.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember when the segment and the door closed. I think Katie might have been our producer at the time. We're like, "Wow, that was a hard one to get through." What's the next one?
Diarrhea. The next one is asking too many questions. While taking interest in others is great, interrogating them isn't. How do you make sure that you're on the right side of the line? Franklin claims that problems begin when your questions are designed to discover secrets and expose the mistakes of others. So it's one thing to ask questions, but it's another thing to probably go too far or maybe embarrass them. So you ask questions that are out of line, which we all know people who've done that. You're like, ooh, I can't believe they asked that sort of question.
And don't ask questions when you're standing in 95-degree heat in the burning sun of Sitges, and you're standing in front of a building, and you're like, was this the home of Bacardi? And everybody on the tour is like, Nash, we are.
My God, and they were mad at me. They were not mad at you. I was getting all the vitriol. Yeah, you tell him, don't ask any more questions. Of course, Bacardi is the Bacardi of the rum.
You deliver that message to him. So yes, as you can see, Tim.
Oh my God!
As I set this up, you can see that Tim has not committed these things. I am definitely the one who's perpetrated these.
He did not just ask that question.
Yeah, I was oblivious to all the knives flying in my direction. I'm looking at the architecture, and later on we get back to the hotel. Tim's like, "You should not have done those. They were driving me crazy." This next one that Ben Franklin says is a no-no is storytelling. And you would think on the surface of that, storytelling, being able to weave a compelling yarn sounds like a good thing, and it is. But Franklin warns his readers against developing canned stories and trotting them out again and again, and we all know this, or going into excess detail that interests the teller far more than the listener. This is a tough one because storytelling in a group or with people to amuse people or relax them, there is a fine line balance. And I will say again that I've learned a lot from Tim's storytelling abilities, and Tim adds just enough detail or takes just enough away. And I think I hopefully am a good storyteller as well, but that's the third one.
I think we're both good storytellers, and what Marianne used to say is, "Don't let sometimes the truth get away of a good story." I mean, you can move the facts a little bit, right?
And don't be around people who
embellish a little bit.
Don't be around people who correct you too. Like, that's not how it happened. Oh, stop it.
Remember Bob? I knew I'd have to call eventually the one time about the fountain thing. Bob called and ruined the story.
What's the next one here?
The next one says debating, and I'm not so sure about this one, but it says Franklin's description of those who love to argue is hilariously contemporary. And essentially he says that it's he talks about someone who I'm trying to put it in more common words, but essentially, I guess it's the person who just wants to argue or just wants to debate. I don't think there's anything wrong with that sometimes to do counterpoint. I don't know what you think of that. This one I had a little bit of issues with because I do have friends that will take a counter position just to either prove a point or to see if you can defend something, right? I mean, we both have friends that'll do that, right? Point, counterpoint. I wasn't so sure that one was so bad because it does create discussion. In other words, if someone said, I don't believe people should be taking unemployment now because they're not going back to work. That seems to be the big debate going on right now, right?
Ridiculous,
people are not going to work because of this enhanced employment. And so you could have a debate about that either way.
Yeah.
I don't know.
A discussion. I think his point with the debating was there are some people who like to debate just to be opposite you, and they'll drive you crazy, and and it's not about making someone see a point of view. It's just, I'm going to be, a thorn in your side. Contrary, exactly. The last one on this list is, and what we've been discussing here is excerpts from a short essay that Ben Franklin wrote in 1730 called On Conversation. And these are the 5 biggest mistakes that make you unlikable, according to Ben Franklin. And the last one is 5 misjudging. Franklin likens humor to salt. A little gives conversation flavor. Too much makes it unpalatable. So only make jokes you know will land, he advised hundreds of years before cancel culture was a thing. And never mock natural infirmities, unavoidable misfortunes, defects, or deformities of any kind. He's almost underlined that. Misjudging is something I'm guilty of. You remember we were standing out at the in front of the Hollywood Hilton. Was it the Hilton at that awards ceremony? And I said some stupid. Carrie Fisher was standing like feet away, and I said something stupid about Bob Hope and his house out in Palm Springs, and she just drifted into the goodbye, because it was a.
Well, it's like the lights with the roach on. Everybody left. Well, we're supposed to say. Apparently, we learned you can't say anything bad about Bob Hope. It was like you can't say anything bad about Oprah, or what was the other one? Johnny Carson. You don't say anything in Hollywood about any of those people.
We were told that after someone heard the joke, like, oh, you're not supposed to do that. So those are. I think that they're the guy that took the 5 out of that larger essay, which is not that long to begin with, but really picked some of the best ones. And so thank you, Ben Franklin. Advice from nearly 300 years ago still lands and resonates today in our contentious little culture. So we're going to wrap up the show there, my friends. Thank you for joining Tim and myself today. FocusGroupRadio.com is our website, and that's where all our media is housed. We would urge you to also check out Unbuttoned. That's our Tuesday podcast, about 20 minutes. And while you're at the site, check out Deep Discount. That's one of our partners here. It's a shark logo. Sharky the Shark. And when you get the Deep Discount, you can start buying some cool movies and books and DVDs and all sorts of things. So everybody have a terrific week. Enjoy the weather. Mask up, stay safe, and we'll see you in the new one.
It's The Focus Group with Tim Bennett and John Nash. Accessible on all platforms. Subscribe, like, and rate us on your platform of choice. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com.
That was a stunning focus group.